Dear students, let us begin with the part 2 of Trade to Territory of class 8th. Tipu Sultan. Tipu Sultan was also known as the Tiger of Mysore. Sultan was the son of Hyder Ali, ruler of Mysore. Tipu Sultan ruled Mysore from 1782 to 1799. Tipu Sultan took the help of French to modernize his army and sent foreign delegates to gather the foreign help against British. Four wars were fought between the Britishers and Mysore and were known as the Anglo-Mysore Wars. In 1799, Britishers won the Battle of Siragapatnam against Mysore. Tipu Sultan was killed defending his capital. Now, war with Marathas. After the defeat of Maratha in the Battle of Panipat in 1761, they get divided into various small dynasties such as Sindhia, Holkars, Gauid, and Bhonsle. Three wars were fought between Marathas and British in 1782, 1803, 1817. The third war was the decisive war, and after this Peshwa was deposed and sent to the northern India on a prison. Now the company had control over the south of Vindhyas. Now claim to paramountcy. As British were providing themselves as the best power across the India, this enhanced their desire to rule whole territory and they started direct conquest under the Lord Hastings in 1813 to 23. British also wanted to secure northwest front of their empire in India. For this, they fought war with Afghanistan and Punjab and finally won over its territories in 1843 and 1849 respectively. Doctrine of lapse. Under the reign of Lord Dalhousie, they adopted the policy of lapse. According to this policy, the rulers who does not have any legal heir could not pass on their property to the adopted son and it would be taken by British. Satara, Sambhalpur, Jhansi were annexed by these policies. Subsidiary alliance. The doctrine of subsidiary alliance was introduced by Max Wellesley, British Governor General in India from 1798 to 1805. Early in his governorship, Wellesley adopted a policy of non-intervention in the princely state, but he later adopted the policy of forming subsidiary alliance. This policy was to play a major role in British expansion in India. The main principle of subsidiary alliance were, in India, a ruler entering into a subsidiary alliance with the British had to accept British forces within his territory and also agreed to pay for their maintenance. The ruler would accept a British resident in his state. An Indian ruler who entered into subsidiary alliance would not enter into any further alliance with any other power, nor would he declare war against any power without the permission of the British. The ruler would not employ any European other than the British, and if he were already doing so, he would dismiss them. In case of conflict with any other state, he would agree the resolution decided upon by the British. The ruler would acknowledge the East India Company as paramount power in India. In return, the ruler accepting its condition, the company undertook to protect the state and external dangers and internal disorders. If the Indian rulers failed to make a payment required by the alliance, then the part of their territory would be taken away as a penalty. The company army. Colonial rule in India brought in some new ideas and administration and reform, but its power retested on the military strength. Traditional army. The Mughal army was mainly composed of cavalry, savars, trained soldiers on the horseback, and infantry, that is, paddle foot soldiers. They were given training of archery, tirandasi, and use of sword. The cavalry dominated the army, and Mughal state did not feel the need to have a large professionally trained infantry. The rural areas had a large number of armed peasants, and the local zamindars often supplied the Mughals with paddle soldiers. Professional soldiers. A change occurred in the 18th century when Mughal successor states like Awadh and Banaras started recruiting peasants into their armies and trained them as professional soldiers. The East India Company adopted the same method when it began recruitment for its own army, which come to be known as a Sepoy army, from the Indian word Sipahi, meaning soldier. As warfare technology changed from the 1820s, the cavalry recruitment of Indian army declined. This is because the British Empire was fighting in Burma, Afghanistan, and Egypt, where soldiers were armed in muskets and matchlocks. The soldiers of the company army had to keep pace with changing military recruitments requirements, and its infantry regiment now became more important. In early 19th century, the British began to develop a uniform military culture. Soldiers were increasingly subjected to European style training, drill and discipline that regulated their life far more than before. Often this created problems since caste and community feelings were ignored in building a force. Conclusion. Let's come to the conclusion. The East India Company started as a trading company. To further its trading interested, the company started to interfere in the local political and later on took control of local administration. Ultimately, through various social, political, and administrative changes, the company took full control over 63% of the Indian territory and 78% of the population. Remaining part was under indirect control of East India Company. Thank you.